Hello and welcome. This is Faceless Opinion, howling at the moon. Welcome you back to Skyrim, the series where I release Skyrim-related videos throughout the month of November. For this month, I wanted to do something different with the series and wanted to try my luck at rewriting certain prominent quest lines. Last week, I made a video rewriting Skyrim's main quest line, and for today, we will be tackling the faction consisting of Skyrim's greatest warriors, the Companions. So take a seat, sip on some spiced wine, and enjoy a sweet roll or two while I set the scene and explain to you on how I would handle the Companions questline. Many years ago, I made a video talking about the Companions and why their story was not very structured and was lacking. I will be using that as my outline for what I am doing here, as I still stand by what I said in that video. Now, it is not required for you to watch that video to understand this one, though if you choose to watch it, I would appreciate that. Alright, the story begins as it normally does. You still have your random encounter with a group of companion members who were fighting that giant near Whiterun. You get prompted to join, talk to Kodlak, have your sparring session with Vilkas, the same old stuff as the original. However, the changes start after that, as you now have to do some odd jobs to build your reputation, and you get to do some work alongside the other lower level companion members such as Torvar, Rhea, Aphis, and Nadja Stonearm, with them being your primary shield brothers and sisters, working on some missions that were Radiant quests in the original version, like Animal Extermination, Hired Muscle, Trouble in Skyrim, Family Heirloom, Escaped Criminal, and Rescue Mission. The reason why is to build up and learn more about the lower level companions, and also to learn about the hierarchy system of the companions, in which we learn that some of our lower level members don't like the Circle, with Nadja and Tovar being the biggest critics as they believe the members of the Circle have a superiority complex and lord over them, even though the companions aren't supposed to have any leaders, which is why, to prove themselves to the likes of Aella, Farkas, Vilkas, Skjor, and Kodlak, which is why Tovar decides to try and find one of the fragments of Wulfrad, the legendary axe which belonged to Ysgramor himself, which starts the modified version of the quest Proving Honor, which means he plans to go to Dustman's Cairn to retrieve the shard and no longer be viewed as a whelp. He convinces Nadja to partake, but Aphis and Rhea decline, as collecting the fragments of Wulfrad is only to be done by the Circle and not anyone else. However, Torvar gets you to go along with his plan, so it is you, him, and Nadja going to Dustman's Cairn. But when they get there and try to get the shard, they realize they bit off more than they could chew, as you and your shield siblings must fight a group of warriors armed with silver weapons, known as the Silver Hand, and apparently they are here for the same reason you are, the shard. Then when you get to the room in which you get trapped in, Torvar and Nadja get surrounded by the Silver Hand, in which the Silver Hand question why they are working alongside a group of beasts, which is understandably makes them confused by that remark. However, before they can be elaborated on and the Silver Hand tries to take them out, they get saved at the last minute by both Farkas and Vilkas, who fight off the Silver Hand, pushing them back, though they end up escaping with the shard. Vilkas will end up scolding both Torvar and Nadja and escorts them back to Jorrvaskr, while Farkas stays behind and frees you from your imprisonment, who also questions as to why you went along with this crazy stunt, and you would explain that you wanted to prove yourself, in which Farkas says if you want an opportunity, let's see what you got, in which the two of you would go after the group of Silver Hand members that escaped with the shard. You end up locating them at Gallows Rock, and the two of you split off. You go to retrieve the shard, while Farkas deals with the person in charge of the base, Krev the Skinner. You ask Farkas why he's called the Skinner, and he simply tells you that he is a hunter. Now, while going solo, you notice that there are a bunch of dead werewolves in cages, until you end up collecting the shard. Upon meeting up with Farkas, you see and hear him having a conversation with Krev telling him that he and his kind are a blight and are not worthy of being a part of the Companions, and that the Silver Hand are the true heirs of Ysgramor. Farkas is surrounded by Krev and his men, but he then transforms into a werewolf and slaughters all of them. When you make your way down there, Krev is at near death and shows disgust to Farkas, stating that a true warrior would have fought to death with honor, not relying on lycanthropy. Krev then dies and leaves Farkas unsure of himself. He does notices you approaching, and the two of you have a talk, where he explains that the members of the Circle are werewolves and tells you to keep that secret to yourself. He then takes the shard from you and tells you did a good job, and he will vouch for you. Upon returning back to Jorrvaskr, you meet up with the other whelps. Tovar and Nadja were read the riot act by Vilkas and Skjor for what they did, while Rhea and Aphis told them they should not have done that. When they see you, they ask what happened. You tell them that you and Farkas got the shard, omitting the werewolf part, and tell them that Farkas would put a good word into the circle about how you fared at Gallows Rock. The reaction differs for each member. Rhea is happy for you, Aphis congratulates you, Torvar looks conflicted, and Nadja is angry and storms off. Sometime later, you get approached by Skjor, who says that Farkas talked to him about you, and thinks you have what it takes to be a part of the circle. But he wants to test you personally. Skjor takes you to one of the giant camps to see how you fare against a giant one-on-one, saying that this is a good test to show your skill, and since encountering a giant is how you got introduced to the companions, think of this as a full circle moment. You fight the giant while Skjor watches from the sidelines, and upon defeating the giant, Skjor will tell you that you are worthy to be a part of the circle, telling you to head to the Underforge at night for the ceremony to take place. You meet him there and see Skjor and Aela, the latter of which is in her wolf form. He tells you that you will undergo a ritual to take the power of the wolf. So, you ask him a few questions about the ritual, such as, where did this power come from? Why is it kept a secret? And has anyone rejected doing the ritual? The answers are as follows. The power comes from Hircine, though Skjor does not know the exact nature of how and when the companions were introduced to the beast blood. It is kept a secret as the lower members of the companions can't be trusted to know about it, at least not until they prove their worth. And there is only one time where someone has rejected to do the ritual, but that was a long time ago, back during Kodlak's youth. After those questions, you do the ritual and become a werewolf, the only difference being that you are not let loose in the city of Whiterun, but outside, because why the hell would you let a feral animal loose inside one of Skyrim's main cities and risk killing someone important? Sorry, that part was always stupid. Ugh. Continuing on, after your time as a werewolf, you are in the woods of Falkreath Hold with Aela there to greet you. You two have the same conversation that you did in the original version, only this time, instead of looking for a fragment of Wufrad, Aela wants to augment the wolf form by trying to find the totems of Hircine. You go off to the location and collect the totems and return to the Underforge to talk to Skjor. But instead, you are met by Kodlak, who asks how it went. Aela will ask what happened to Skjor, and he will say that he went off to find another fragment while they were away, and has not returned, raising some concern, but gets interrupted when Vilkas comes in and tells us we need to look at something. When going outside, you see a werewolf about to die with a large amount of silver arrows sticking out of it. The werewolf then reverts back, turning into Skjor, who is now dead, which shocks everyone, especially the lower level members of the companions. There is also a note which states the companions are nothing more than a cult of werewolves and are not worthy of collecting Wufrad. This moment causes a massive uproar, with the members of the circle trying to tell them to stay calm and learn their place, which they do not take well. This is a total crap show right now, not just throwing insults and slurs. Torvar is sickened by this, Rhea is horrified that this is the companions' true nature, and Aphis questions the honor of the group. Aela gets in Nadja's face like she's getting ready to fight, while Farkas and Vilkas try to de-escalate things, while Kodlak is quiet at first, and then tells everyone in an angry tone to shut up, and that everyone needs to take a break and recompose themselves, where we will have a talk about this later. Kodlak leaves for his quarters, Aela orders the others to help with Skjor's body, but the whelps choose not to, leading to Farkas, Aela, and Vilkas to do it. Whelps question you about the whole thing, and well, they don't take it too kindly and need space from you. Since you knew about it and are now a werewolf, they're all questioning whether or not they want to stay in the group or not. Later, Vilkas approaches saying that Kodlak is missing, leading to the two of you to find him. You do end up locating him and talking to him as to why he left. Kodlak will tell us that the note that was found on Skjor's body, he recognizes the handwriting, as it belonged to a former shield brother of his when he joined the companions long ago, named Hans. Kodlak and Hans joined the group together at the same time, and both were able to work their way to joining the circle, but when the Harbinger at the time, Askar, told them about the werewolf ritual, Hans rejected it. As a result, he quit the group as he did not want to swear fealty to a Daedric prince, while Kodlak at the time agreed to do the ritual, with Kodlak wondering if Hans was the one in the right about rejecting the ritual, and if a beast can be honorable. The three of you make your way to the Silver Hand base at Driftshade Refuge. You make your way through and then confront Hans, who is the leader of the Silver Hand. Him and Kodlak talk with one another. Kodlak calls Hans a murderer for killing Skjor and perverting what the companions are, while Hans calls Kodlak and the Circle monsters. Though Hans does make a deal with Kodlak. If he gives him all the shards of Wolfrad, he will tell Kodlak how to cure himself. Kodlak is surprised by this and asks how. Hans says he did some research and knows how to lift the curse, and expresses that he wants his shield brother in Sovngarde alongside him, and not as a pet for Hircine. Kodlak considers it as he has in old age begun to show regret about choosing to become a werewolf. Unfortunately, the deal was only for Kodlak, as you, Vilkas, and the other members of the Circle need to die. Kodlak rejects that and says he will not betray his shield brothers and sisters for Hans. A fight breaks out, you and Vilkas taking on the Silver Hand while Kodlak and Hans fight, though Hans uses some magic to affect werewolves, causing you, Vilkas, and Kodlak to collapse. Kodlak accuses Hans of not having honor, while Hans says that you don't need to show honor to an animal. Hans kills Kodlak. You and Vilkas come to later, with Hans and the rest of the Silver Hand gone and Kodlak dead. Two of you head back to Jorrvaskr, but when you return, things only get worse, as Torvar stole the fragments of Wolfrad and ran off saying that the Silver Hand was right, leading to the entire Circle going after Hans, the Silver Hand, and Torvar. They end up locating them at the tomb of Ysgramor, as they wanted to pay their respect and tribute to the first companion. They find Torvar first, and he insults the group and has fully embraced the Silver Hand. He is killed for his betrayal, much to the reluctance of Farkas, as he was a member of the Companions, and was a decent guy. But the others keep going through the tomb and confront the Silver Hand, with Hans reforging Wolfrad and is wielding it. Hans says that he and the Silver Hand are the real companions and the Circle are just pretenders. You and the Circle vow to kill Hans and the Silver Hand, and all of you turn into werewolves and start slaughtering the remaining members of the Silver Hand. Hans tries to use his anti-werewolf magic on y'all, but due to him being outnumbered and all of you being bloodlusted, it is safe to say that you killed Hans. And it is a real bloodbath in Ysgramor's tomb. When you all revert back, everyone reflects on what just happened. Yes, you are all glad that you killed Hans and avenged Kodlak, but they begin to think that maybe Hans was right about them, as they essentially defiled Ysgramor's tomb. They look at Wolfrad and see that it was destroyed in the fight. Aela says that it can be fixed at the Skyforge, but Vilkas says that none of them are worthy to wield the blade, as they all gave in to their primal impulses. And if Kodlak was here, he would say the same thing, leading to the four of you to talk about what happens to the companions moving forward, particularly about the use of lycanthropy, at which Vilkas remembers that Hans said it was possible to remove the wolf form. And upon searching his body, you see a journal in his inventory that can cure you. This leads to an argument and each member taking a stance. Aela wants to keep the power. Farkas wants to remove it, while Vilkas is in the middle, which leads to two possible endings for the quest line. Ending 1. You embrace your lycanthropy and move past the old ways of the Companions. As a result, the Companions rebrand themselves as the Warriors Pack. During this, Rhea and Aphis choose to quit as they don't want to be involved in werewolves. Rhea ends up working as a Whiterun guard, and Aphis goes to Solstein, while Nadja chooses to stay and wants to undergo the ritual to become a werewolf, which she does. Aela becomes a devout follower of Hircine. Farkas, on the other hand, chooses to cure himself, but remains a member, provided that they don't force people to become werewolves, and respect their choice on the matter, which everyone agrees to, while Vilkas chooses to keep his wolf form and takes the leadership position, as in this new version of the Companions, they do have leaders. Ending 2. You cure yourself of lycanthropy and follow the old ways of the Companions, which leads to you, Farkas and Vilkas, curing yourself. Aela, on the other hand, refuses and ends up leaving the group and relocates to Rorikstead. However, the other members like Rhea, Aphis, and Nadja choose to stay as members of the Companions, with them being better fighters and making names for themselves, and then joining the Circle. Vilkas will end up being anointed as the new Harbinger of the Companions, with him saying that one day we will be worthy of Ysgramor and Kodlak's legacy, concluding the quest line. Now, I know that I covered a lot and figure some of you may have a question or two about things, so I decided to create a Q&A based off of questions I think you might have. I wanted to make the Silver Hand more interesting than they were in the original version. Instead of looking like bandits, they have proper armor and many different types of silver weapons, as well as giving them an actual leader. so there can be a proper antagonist in this questline, which led to the creation of Hans, who I really wanted to flesh out and give a reason why he hates werewolves. So I decided to have him be a former member of the Companions who is against the beast blood, as he does not view that as honorable. Plus, giving him a shared past with Kodlak does more for both of them, really. I wanted to give the lower level companion members like Tovar, Aphis, Rhea, and Naja a chance to have more screen time and character development, since they had none in the original. Besides, I feel like you should have done some quests with them before jumping up the ranks of the circle, since you spend zero time actually being a whelp and growing your skills. Not to mention, I wonder how they would react to finding out that the circle is full of werewolves. Would they be receptive of that? I tried to keep them all in character the best I could and picked the logical decisions that I think they would make. For example, Tovar starts off friendly at the beginning, and then his views start to sour as the questline progresses, which leads to his betrayal. Yes, in this version, Kodlak does not get cured of his lycanthropy. The reason why was because it was a bit of a random ass pull in the original. And not to mention, how can you cure someone of lycanthropy if they are dead? Don't get me wrong, I like Kodlak, but don't try to tell me that the original ending made sense. It was very... what is the word I'm looking for? Contrived. If you want to know what I mean by that, watch my video where I talk about the companion storyline being sloppy. In the original version, you could collect the totems of Hircine to change the shout of your werewolf form. I always thought it was weird that something that important to the transformation would be made a radiant quest that you might not get to trigger that often. So I made it a main mission and let you swap out your howls when you want to experiment what you want to do with it. Is that random? Sure, but the Dawnguard has special spells to fight vampires. Why can't the Silver Hand have it for fighting werewolves? Just saying. If you technically think about it, the Silver Hand and Dawnguard are more or less rather similar. I mean, they both battle monsters that pose serious threats to people. So why not follow the Dawnguard's trend a little bit with the Silver Hand? I gave the Companion's questline 2 endings because I was unsure on how I wanted to end it, as the moral of this was supposed to be, does a wild animal have honor? As the Companions are to begin to question if using the wolf form makes them true warriors or not, though I decided to let the player choose how the Companions turn out, with them pivoting away from the old ways and changing things up due to the beast blood, or renouncing it and embrace what a true warrior is supposed to be. You will have the ability to cure yourself or become a werewolf anytime you want upon completing the questline. If you want to become a werewolf again, go find Ayala and she will let you do the ritual again, whether that be at the Underforge or her new hideout, depending on the ending you pick. While for curing yourself, talk to Farkas as he keeps Hans' journal on how to cure lycanthropy, as in both versions of this, he chooses to be normal and will keep it just in case he needs it. In the first ending, Wolfrad is left in Ysgramor's tomb, shattered, and remains there since the Companions are choosing to go their own way. While in the second ending, Wolfrad is collected and is displayed on the wall of Jorrvaskr as motivation to be honorable warriors, and that one day they will be worthy enough to restore the weapon and pay tribute to Ysgramor, meaning that you do not get to have Wolfrad as a weapon in both versions, because, as cool as it looks, it is not that good of a weapon. Sorry, Ysgramor, your weapon's kinda trash, no lies. With all of that said, this was my attempt at rewriting the Companion's questline. Now tell me, what do you think of my variation of the story? Do you like the original version? How would have you changed it if you were writing it? Do you think the Companions are a cult? Comment down below. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave a like and make sure you subscribe for more Skyrim content. Another video is coming out soon. Until next time, I'll catch you all on the flip side.